Have you ever found yourself waking up 2, 3, sometimes even 4 times a night just to use the bathroom? If so, you are certainly not alone. In fact, when I speak with older adults, one of the most common frustrations they share with me is that their nights are no longer restful. Instead of enjoying deep, uninterrupted sleep, they find themselves climbing in and out of bed, fumbling in the dark, and then struggling to fall back asleep again. It's not only exhausting, it can be dangerous, too. Each trip to the bathroom in the middle of the night increases the risk of slips and falls, especially if balance and vision aren't as strong as they once were. But beyond safety, there's the simple truth that all of us deserve peaceful sleep. Our bodies heal and repair during those deep hours of rest, and when our sleep is interrupted, our energy, our mood, and even our health can suffer. Here's the good news: sometimes, the solution is far simpler than we think. You see, our diet. What we eat and, equally important, when we eat it, plays a powerful role in how our bodies behave at night. And yes, even something as ordinary as fruit can either help us rest soundly or keep us running to the bathroom long after the lights are out. Today, we're going to talk about 4 fruits that may actually reduce nighttime urination and support better sleep, and 4 fruits that people over 60 should consider avoiding in the evenings because they can have the opposite effect. This isn't about giving up the foods you love entirely. It's about understanding your body's needs at this stage of life and making small, smart choices that can transform your nights. Before we dive deeper, let me say this: if you're watching this, you've already taken an important step. You care about your health, your comfort, and your quality of life. That is something to feel proud of. So I want to invite you to stay with me all the way through this video, because not only will you discover which fruits to reach for and which to avoid, but you'll also gain a new way of thinking about nighttime health that could ease frustration and bring back restful sleep. And if you find these insights helpful, consider subscribing and sharing this channel with a friend or loved one, because health is something best cared for together. Now, let's start by painting a picture of why nighttime urination happens more often as we age. I remember speaking with an older gentleman, a retired teacher named Harold, who told me, "I feel like my nights are on a timer. Every 2 hours, my body just wakes me up." For him, it wasn't only about the inconvenience, it was about feeling like his life was no longer his own. Many of us have been there. The medical term for this is nocturia, and while sometimes it's caused by underlying medical conditions such as prostate enlargement in men or changes in bladder elasticity in women, often, it's also about lifestyle and diet. As we get older, our bodies process fluids differently. The kidneys may filter more at night, and the bladder itself may become more sensitive. Add in certain medications, like blood pressure pills or diuretics, and suddenly sleep feels like it's under constant interruption. But here's the part many people don't realize: certain foods, especially fruits, can act like natural helpers or natural irritants for the bladder. Some fruits contain compounds that soothe the bladder, reduce irritation, and keep the kidneys from overworking at night. Others, though healthy in many ways, can be acidic, high in sugar, or naturally diuretic, meaning they push the body to make more urine. That's why understanding this difference matters so much, especially after 60, when even small dietary adjustments can have an outsized impact on comfort and health. Let me share another story. A woman I met at a senior center, Margaret, told me she thought she had to give up eating fruit altogether in the evenings. She loved her grapes, her oranges, her apple slices before bed, but she was tired of waking up 3 times every night. The surprising truth? She didn't have to give them all up. She simply needed to know which ones were quietly contributing to her restless nights. When she made those adjustments, her sleep improved within just a couple of weeks. That's how powerful knowledge can be. And so, in this video, I want to gently guide you through the 4 fruits that can actually support you, helping reduce nighttime urination, and the 4 that are best left for earlier in the day. We'll talk about what makes these fruits different, how they interact with your body, and how you can use them in practical, delicious ways without feeling deprived. Along the way, I'll share insights from nutritionists, wellness experts, and everyday seniors who've tried these changes and seen real results. Before we name names, though, I want to pause for a moment and acknowledge something important. If you've been struggling with this issue, please know there is nothing shameful about it. Waking up at night to urinate does not mean you've failed your health. It's not a sign of weakness or loss of dignity. It is a normal, common part of aging, but one that can be improved. And that's the encouraging part, you can take back some control. Think of this as one more way of caring for yourself, the same way you might water a plant that needs just the right balance of sunlight and shade. Now, to set the stage, let's talk about how fruit interacts with our bodies in general. Fruits are packed with vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber. They are one of the best gifts nature gives us. But they also vary widely in their sugar content, acidity, water volume, and their effect on the bladder and kidneys. For example, citrus fruits like oranges and grapefruits are high in vitamin C but also very acidic, and that acidity can irritate the bladder lining. On the other hand, fruits like bananas are rich in potassium, which helps regulate fluid balance in the body. So not all fruits are created equal when it comes to nighttime comfort. When I think about food and health, I'm reminded of something Dr. Michael Greger wrote in his book, How Not to Die. He said that every bite we take is a chance to either heal or harm our body. That might sound dramatic, but it's true in ways both big and small. Choosing the right evening fruit isn't going to cure every health issue, but it can give your body a gentler, calmer night, and that alone can change how you feel during the day. After all, when you sleep better, you think clearer, you move easier, and you meet each morning with more energy and less irritation. So let's slowly walk into the first category, the fruits that can actually help reduce nighttime urination. These are the fruits you might enjoy after dinner, the ones that quietly support your bladder instead of waking it up. As we go through them, I want you to picture yourself adding them into your routine, not as a restriction, but as a gift you give to yourself. Food should never feel like punishment. It should feel like nourishment, comfort, and care. But before we list those 4 helpful fruits, let's do this. Take a moment right now and think about your own evening routine. Do you tend to snack on something sweet before bed? Do you sip on fruit juice, or maybe nibble on a bowl of grapes while watching TV? Sometimes we don't realize how these habits, small as they may seem, can ripple into our nights. Tonight, as you listen, I invite you to look at your habits with gentle curiosity, not judgment. That's where change begins, with awareness, not shame. In just a moment, we'll begin naming those fruits that can truly make a difference. But I want to make sure we move slowly and clearly, so you not only remember them but also understand why they matter. Because once you understand the why, it becomes so much easier to make choices that stick. The first fruit I want to bring to your attention is the humble banana. Bananas are often overlooked because they're so familiar, but that's exactly what makes them so valuable. They are easy to find, gentle on the stomach, and full of nutrients that support the body in multiple ways. What makes bananas especially helpful for reducing nighttime bathroom trips is their potassium content. Potassium is an essential mineral that helps regulate the balance of fluids in your body. When potassium levels are steady, your kidneys don't feel the need to work overtime, and your bladder doesn't become as reactive during the night. Think of potassium like a manager who keeps the workplace running smoothly. Without it, things can feel chaotic. Your body may hold onto excess fluid during the day and then try to flush it out at night. But with enough potassium, the system is balanced, calm, and less likely to disrupt your sleep. Bananas also contain magnesium, which relaxes muscles, including the bladder muscle. A relaxed bladder is far less likely to signal urgency at 2 in the morning. I once met a gentleman named Robert, a widower in his 70s, who told me he had started adding half a banana to his evening snack, sometimes with a small spoonful of peanut butter. Within a couple of weeks, he noticed he was waking up less often. He said, "It was like my body was finally cooperating with me again." Now, that doesn't mean bananas are a magic bullet. Everyone's body is unique, but for many older adults, the potassium-magnesium combination makes them a smart evening choice. The second fruit worth highlighting is cherries, especially tart cherries. This one often surprises people. Cherries are not only delicious, but they are also a natural source of melatonin, the very hormone that tells your brain it's time to sleep. By gently boosting melatonin levels, cherries can help regulate your sleep cycle and deepen the quality of your rest. But there's more. Studies have suggested that cherries, particularly tart cherries, have anti-inflammatory properties. Inflammation in the urinary tract or bladder lining can make the bladder more sensitive and trigger unnecessary urges. By reducing that inflammation, cherries can indirectly calm those middle-of-the-night bathroom signals. Now, cherries can be a bit seasonal, and fresh ones aren't always easy to find. But tart cherry juice, unsweetened and in moderation, can also provide benefits. I recommend drinking a small amount earlier in the evening, not right before bed, so you get the melatonin support without the extra fluid rushing into your bladder at midnight. A retired nurse I once spoke with swore by a handful of frozen cherries blended into a smoothie after dinner. She said it not only satisfied her sweet tooth but also helped her stay asleep longer. Her story always reminds me of how little changes can make a big difference. Moving on, the third fruit that deserves attention is pears. Pears are gentle, low in acidity, and hydrating in a way that doesn't irritate the bladder. They're rich in fiber, which supports digestion, and they don't have the sharp, acidic bite that citrus fruits do. This makes them soothing rather than irritating. For those with sensitive bladders, pears can feel like a safe choice. Plus, they contain a compound called sorbitol, a natural sugar alcohol that, in small amounts, can help keep digestion moving along without overstimulating the urinary system. I recall a woman named Ellen who used to end her day with an orange every night because she thought it was the healthiest habit she could have. But she was frustrated with her nighttime trips to the bathroom. When she swapped the orange for a small pear, the difference shocked her. She said, "I didn't realize something so small could matter so much." Sometimes, it's not about eating less or restricting ourselves harshly, it's about finding the foods that love us back, the ones that support our bodies instead of fighting against them. Pears are one of those quiet allies. The fourth fruit to consider is blueberries. These little gems are often called a superfood, and for good reason. Blueberries are packed with antioxidants that fight oxidative stress, something our bodies become more vulnerable to as we age. But in terms of nighttime urination, what makes blueberries especially valuable is their anti-inflammatory effect. Just like cherries, blueberries help reduce irritation in the bladder and urinary tract. Less irritation means fewer signals being sent to the brain saying, "It's time to go." There's also something psychological about blueberries. They feel like a treat. They're sweet, satisfying, and easy to enjoy in small handfuls. Instead of reaching for cookies or ice cream before bed, a bowl of blueberries can satisfy cravings without setting off the bladder alarm. I remember an older couple, David and Patricia, who told me they started a tradition of sharing a small bowl of blueberries with a little yogurt after dinner. It became a ritual, not just about health, but about connection. Sometimes the act of sharing a healthy choice with someone you love can be just as healing as the food itself. So there we have it, the four fruits that can help reduce nighttime urination: bananas, cherries, pears, and blueberries. Simple, everyday fruits, but each with unique qualities that support the body in staying calm and rested at night. Think of them as tools in your toolbox, not strict rules. You don't have to eat them every single day, but knowing they're there gives you options that serve you well. But of course, just as some fruits can support restful nights, others can quietly sabotage them. And often, those are the very fruits we think of as healthy choices. That's where the frustration comes in, because you might believe you're doing your body a favor, but without realizing it, you're making sleep harder to come by. So in the next part, we'll turn to the 4 fruits to avoid after 60, especially in the evenings. I promise you, this isn't about fear or deprivation, it's simply about timing and understanding. And once you hear them, you'll see how easy it is to make adjustments that bring you more peace at night. Now that we've talked about the 4 fruits that can be your allies, it's time to look at the other side of the story, the fruits that may be sabotaging your sleep without you even realizing it. These are fruits that, while healthy in general, contain certain properties that can irritate the bladder, increase urine production, or stimulate the body in ways that aren't helpful at night. And remember, this doesn't mean you should never enjoy them. It just means being mindful of when you eat them, because timing can make all the difference. The first fruit to be cautious about is oranges, along with other citrus fruits like grapefruits and lemons. On the surface, they seem like some of the healthiest options you could choose. They're loaded with vitamin C, fiber, and immune-boosting antioxidants. But here's the challenge: citrus fruits are very acidic, and that acidity can irritate the bladder lining. When the bladder becomes irritated, it sends more frequent, urgent signals to the brain, even when it's not truly full. That means you may find yourself waking up to urinate, only to realize the urge felt stronger than the actual need. I remember talking with a retired librarian named Grace who told me she couldn't end her day without a glass of orange juice. She thought it was her secret weapon for staying healthy, especially in the winter. But she was exhausted from waking up 3 times a night. When she learned that citrus fruits could be irritating her bladder, she was skeptical. Still, she agreed to cut back on her nightly orange juice for a week. The change was undeniable. She said, "I didn't want to believe it, but my bladder felt calmer. I actually slept through until morning." That's the power of understanding your body's sensitivities. The second fruit to limit at night is watermelon. Now, this one surprises almost everyone, because watermelon is light, refreshing, and hydrating. And hydration is good, right? Of course, it is, during the day. But here's the catch: watermelon is made up of about 90% water. Eating it in the evening is like drinking a big glass of fluid right before bed. Your body has no choice but to process it, and that means your bladder is going to fill up quickly. While watermelon is a wonderful choice on a hot afternoon, enjoying it after dinner can set you up for 2 or 3 bathroom trips before sunrise. I once spoke with an older gentleman named Thomas, who loved sitting down after dinner with a big bowl of watermelon cubes. He called it his summer dessert. But he was frustrated that his nights were broken up, and he didn't connect the dots at first. Once he switched his watermelon habit to earlier in the day, say, lunchtime instead of evening, his nighttime bathroom trips were cut in half. He still got to enjoy his favorite fruit, but at a time when his body could handle the extra fluid without interfering with his sleep. The third fruit on the list is grapes. Grapes are sweet, delicious, and so easy to snack on that many people don't realize how much they're eating in one sitting. The issue with grapes is their natural sugar content and the fact that they act as a mild diuretic for some people. The sugar can create spikes in blood sugar that interfere with stable sleep, and the diuretic effect encourages the kidneys to produce more urine. For someone over 60, this combination can be particularly disruptive, especially in the late evening hours. I remember meeting a woman named Carol who loved eating grapes while watching TV at night. She told me she'd snack on them by the handful without thinking twice. When we talked about how grapes could be contributing to her nocturia, she decided to test it. She limited grapes to earlier in the day, around lunchtime, and noticed she wasn't getting up nearly as often at night. She said, "It was such a simple change, but I finally felt like I could watch a show without paying for it later in the night." That story always reminds me that sometimes the foods we love most just need to be shifted, not eliminated. The fourth fruit to be careful with after 60, especially in the evenings, is pineapple. Pineapple is wonderfully tropical, bursting with flavor and nutrients like vitamin C and bromelain, which support digestion and immunity. But here's the issue: pineapple is both highly acidic and high in natural sugars. This combination can irritate the bladder lining while also spiking blood sugar levels close to bedtime. For older adults, that means more bladder sensitivity and a restless night of broken sleep. One senior I spoke with, named Leonard, shared that he and his wife used to enjoy pineapple slices as a sweet after-dinner treat. But when his nighttime bathroom trips became overwhelming, he was encouraged to shift that treat earlier in the day. He told me the difference was like night and day. He still got to enjoy pineapple, but by moving it to breakfast or lunch, he protected his nights. So, let's recap for a moment. The 4 fruits to avoid in the evenings, especially if you're over 60, are oranges, and other citrus, watermelon, grapes, and pineapple. These fruits are not bad foods, they're wonderful in many ways, but their acidity, sugar, and high fluid content can be a hidden trigger for nighttime urination. And when you know this, you can adjust. Enjoy them earlier in the day, and save the gentler fruits like bananas, pears, cherries, and blueberries for your evenings. But let's not stop here. Because while fruit plays a powerful role in nighttime comfort, it's only one piece of the puzzle. The way we prepare for sleep, the way we hydrate, the way we manage stress, all of these factors weave together to create nights that are either restful or restless. In the next part, I want to go beyond just listing foods and talk about how to build an evening routine that truly supports you. This will help you not only manage nighttime urination but also improve the overall quality of your sleep, your energy, and your peace of mind. So now that you know which fruits can help and which can hinder, let's take the conversation a step further. Because food alone, while powerful, isn't the whole story. The truth is, what we do in the hours leading up to bedtime has just as much impact on our nights as the foods we choose. In fact, you could eat all the right things and still find yourself waking up if your evening routine isn't set up to support deep, uninterrupted rest. One of the simplest but most overlooked habits is the timing of your fluids. Many older adults tell me they feel thirsty in the evenings, so they drink glass after glass of water, tea, or even juice close to bedtime. Hydration is essential, of course, our bodies need water to function well, but the timing makes all the difference. Instead of drinking most of your fluids after dinner, try front-loading them earlier in the day. Picture your hydration like a curve that rises in the morning, peaks in the afternoon, and then gently tapers down as evening approaches. That way, your body has processed much of the fluid before bedtime, and your bladder won't be calling for attention all night long. A friend of mine, Harold, who struggled with nocturia for years, once said to me, "I realized I was treating my evenings like a watering can." He would sip water all through his TV shows, and then he wondered why he was up every 2 hours. When he made the small shift of drinking more in the morning and afternoon, and less in the evening, his nights became much calmer. It wasn't about drinking less overall, but simply about moving the timing. That simple awareness is something you can try tonight. Another important part of an evening routine is how you relax your body before bed. Think about your bladder for a moment. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, when it's tense, it sends signals more urgently. Stress, anxiety, even unresolved thoughts from the day can tighten your whole system, including your bladder. That's why practices like deep breathing, light stretching, or even a calming prayer or meditation can do more than just ease your mind, they can actually reduce the urge to urinate at night. I once met a retired schoolteacher named Lorraine who swore by 5 minutes of gentle stretching before bed. She would roll her shoulders, loosen her back, and take deep breaths, and she noticed that not only did she fall asleep faster, but her nighttime urges lessened. She told me, "I think I was holding stress in my body without even realizing it. Once I let it go, my bladder calmed down, too." Her experience is a reminder that the body is interconnected. When one part relaxes, others follow. Lighting also plays a surprising role. Our brains are wired to respond to light and darkness. Bright light tells your brain, it's daytime, stay alert. Dim, warm light tells your brain, it's nighttime, slow down. If you're watching TV or looking at a phone in a brightly lit room right before bed, your brain may not fully release melatonin, the hormone that helps you sleep. And when your sleep is lighter, you're more likely to wake up for every little urge. Creating a softer environment, dimming the lights, turning off screens at least half an hour before bed, can deepen your sleep enough that even if your bladder does send a signal, your brain doesn't overreact to it. Another factor is what I call the evening wind-down ritual. This is something deeply personal. It could be reading a chapter of a favorite book, listening to calming music, journaling, or simply sitting quietly with a cup of herbal tea. The key is to make it consistent. Routines signal to your body that it's time to transition into rest. One gentleman I knew, named Richard, would write down 3 things he was grateful for every night before bed. He told me, "It empties my mind, so I don't carry worries into the night." That kind of small ritual doesn't just support mental peace, it helps the body settle, too. And let's not forget movement during the day. Sometimes, nighttime urination feels worse when we've been too sedentary. If fluid builds up in the legs during the day because we've been sitting for long stretches, the body reabsorbs it once we lie down, which leads to more urine production at night. Gentle daytime movement, even just walking around the house or doing light exercises, helps prevent this pooling of fluid. One trick some doctors recommend is to elevate your legs for 20 minutes in the late afternoon or early evening. This helps the body process excess fluid before bedtime. Finally, there's an emotional component I'd like to touch on. For many seniors, waking up at night becomes not just a physical burden but an emotional one. It can feel discouraging, even embarrassing at times. Some begin to avoid social activities, travel, or even overnight visits with family out of fear of disrupted nights. If that resonates with you, please hear this: you are not alone. Millions of older adults deal with this very same issue. And there are ways to manage it, through diet, routine, and care, that can give you back confidence and freedom. Sometimes, simply knowing you're not the only one can bring comfort. So as you reflect on your evenings, ask yourself, what small changes could I try this week? Could I move my hydration earlier in the day? Could I replace my nightly orange or grapes with a banana or pear? Could I dim the lights and stretch for 5 minutes before bed? You don't need to overhaul everything at once. Just pick 1 or 2 small steps and try them. Your body will notice, and over time, you'll start to reclaim the kind of restful nights you deserve. Now that we've explored which fruits help, which to avoid, and how lifestyle choices influence the bladder at night, let's bring it all together into a plan that feels practical, gentle, and doable. Because information is powerful, but it only truly changes our lives when we know how to apply it. Imagine this as your evening blueprint, a way of preparing both your body and your mind for the kind of sleep you deserve. It's not rigid or complicated, and it doesn't require expensive supplements or special equipment. It's simply about stacking small choices that, when combined, give your body the best chance for calm, uninterrupted rest. Step 1 begins earlier than you might think, during the day. Aim to get most of your hydration in before dinner time. Drink water steadily in the morning and afternoon, and let your intake taper off gently in the evening. If you enjoy herbal teas, have them earlier in the night rather than just before bed. This small shift will allow your bladder to process fluids while you're awake, leaving less urgency to disturb you later. Step 2 is choosing your evening fruit wisely. Instead of citrus, watermelon, grapes, or pineapple, lean toward bananas, pears, cherries, or blueberries. A banana with a little nut butter, a handful of blueberries with yogurt, or a small pear sliced and savored slowly. These choices not only satisfy evening hunger but also work with your body instead of against it. If you love cherries, remember that a small amount of tart cherry juice earlier in the evening can also support melatonin production. Step 3 is about setting your environment. About an hour before bed, dim the lights in your living space. This signals to your brain that night has arrived, allowing melatonin to flow naturally. Turn off screens or at least put them aside so that your eyes and mind can rest. You might replace screen time with something calming. A book, quiet music, or a gentle conversation. This helps your whole system unwind and keeps sleep hormones working in your favor. Step 4 is incorporating relaxation for both body and mind. This doesn't have to be complicated. 5 to 10 minutes of light stretching, some deep breathing, or even a simple gratitude practice can shift your body out of tension and into rest mode. If you're spiritual, you may find that prayer or meditation is deeply soothing at this time. If you're not, even the act of sitting quietly and reflecting on the day can have the same calming effect. The goal here is to release stress, which can otherwise make your bladder more reactive. Step 5 is leg elevation, especially for those who notice swelling in their feet or ankles during the day. About an hour before bed, try lying down with your legs slightly elevated for 15 to 20 minutes. This helps your body reabsorb and process fluids earlier, rather than waiting until you're lying flat in bed. Many seniors I've spoken to say this one practice made a huge difference in how many times they woke up at night. And finally, step 6 is to create a bedtime ritual that you look forward to. Think of it as the closing chapter of your day. Whether it's journaling, listening to soft music, or simply enjoying a few blueberries with a loved one, the consistency of a nightly ritual tells your body, we're safe, we're calm, it's time to rest. The more consistent this ritual becomes, the easier it is for your body to follow the pattern and fall into deeper sleep. What I love about this plan is that it isn't about restriction or loss. It's about replacing what doesn't serve you with choices that do. You don't have to give up fruit altogether. You don't have to drink less water. You don't even have to stop enjoying the foods you love, you just adjust the timing and the balance. These changes are small, but they accumulate into something powerful. I remember an older couple, Barbara and George, who decided to try this plan together. They supported each other by preparing the right evening fruits, dimming the lights after dinner, and sharing a quiet moment before bed. Within a few weeks, both were sleeping longer stretches without interruption. George told me, it wasn't just about fewer bathroom trips, it was about feeling like I got my nights back. And Barbara added, we became closer because we were doing it together. Their story reminds us that these changes don't just benefit the body, they can strengthen relationships, too. So here's what I encourage you to do, choose 1 or 2 parts of this evening plan that feel easiest for you and start there. Maybe tonight it's simply swapping your late-night orange for a banana. Maybe tomorrow it's dimming the lights a little earlier. Don't pressure yourself to do everything at once. Think of this as planting seeds. Over time, those seeds grow into habits, and those habits grow into health. If you've stayed with me through this journey, I want to thank you. Because the very fact that you're here, listening, means you're not willing to simply accept restless nights as an unchangeable part of aging. That mindset, that willingness to learn and adapt, is one of the most powerful tools you have. And it's something I deeply admire. We began by acknowledging a frustration so many older adults face, waking up again and again during the night to use the bathroom. It's more than inconvenient, it can drain your energy, dim your mood, and even place you at risk for falls. But through something as simple and accessible as fruit, paired with gentle lifestyle choices, you now know there are ways to ease that burden. Bananas, cherries, pears, and blueberries, these are the fruits that work with your body, helping reduce irritation and balance fluids. Oranges, watermelon, grapes, and pineapple. These are fruits better enjoyed earlier in the day, so they don't steal your sleep at night. Add to that a mindful approach to hydration, dimmer evening lighting, small rituals of relaxation, and even the simple act of elevating your legs, and suddenly you have a toolkit for calmer, more restful nights. I want to remind you of something important, this isn't about perfection. Some nights will still be better than others, and that's okay. Aging isn't about controlling every detail, it's about giving ourselves grace, and choosing the habits that support us instead of exhaust us. Even one small change, like shifting your citrus fruit to breakfast, or adding a handful of blueberries in the evening, can ripple into real improvements over time. So please, don't underestimate the power of these small, consistent steps. When I think about sleep, I'm reminded of a beautiful line from the poet Ralph Waldo Emerson. He once said, "Finish each day and be done with it. Tomorrow is a new day, begin it well and serenely." In many ways, that's what restful sleep allows us to do. It closes one day with peace and opens the next with energy. And you deserve that. You deserve to greet each morning feeling steady, refreshed, and ready to live life fully. I've seen this transformation firsthand. Seniors who once dreaded the nights now speak of waking with joy. People who felt isolated or discouraged find new hope simply by adjusting their habits and rediscovering rest. One man told me, "I thought my nights of sleeping through were behind me forever. But now, it feels like I've been given a second chance." That's what I wish for you, too. So as you move forward, carry this knowledge with you. Share it with a friend, a spouse, or even your doctor, because health is stronger when we care for it together. And if you found value in what you've heard today, I warmly invite you to stay connected by subscribing to this channel, so we can continue this journey side by side. We'll keep learning, supporting, and growing together, because aging doesn't mean losing comfort. It means gaining wisdom, and using that wisdom to live with more ease. As you prepare for bed tonight, I hope you'll remember this: your nights are not lost. They can be reclaimed. And sometimes, all it takes is a handful of the right fruit, a little light dimmed low, a calm breath, and a heart ready to rest. May your evenings be gentle, your sleep be deep, and your mornings be bright.